All right, so today we're diving deep into self-control. We're going to be looking at notes on author Ron W Rathbun, and his perspective is super interesting. He says it's all about understanding and navigating your reactions, both the stuff that's happening around us and the stuff that we're thinking and feeling on the inside.
Absolutely. So much of what we perceive as a lack of self-control is really just not being in tune with how we're responding to things.
I love that. I think you and I both in the prep for this deep dive were like, wow, this is
different.
This is different.
It's a different way of thinking about it.
Yeah. And, you're all about getting knowledge quickly and efficiently. So let's just jump right in.
Absolutely. Let's dive in. I think what's really cool about Rathbun's approach is that he breaks self-control down into these 3 steps. And it's not about, like I said, forcing yourself into a certain mold. It's really about understanding your inner landscape.
I love that.
Yeah. So the first step he talks about is outward non-reaction.
Outward non-reaction. Okay, so it's not about being passive. It's not about just letting anything happen.
Right.
It's more about choosing.
Exactly. It's about being conscious of what you're allowing into your space.
I love that.
Rathbun talks about the power of choice and being aware of what you open up to in life and what you choose to not open up to.
Yeah, he has this great quote. He says, awareness of not being controlled is how self-control is learned.
It's not about exerting control over everything around you. It's about recognizing that you already have that control within you.
Yeah.
You choose what you react to and what you don't.
I think a good example of this is like social media.
That's a great one.
Like there's so much stuff flying around on social media.
It's a constant barrage of information and opinions and
negativity.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's so easy to get sucked into that vortex of reaction. But if we can take a step back and say, okay, I don't have to engage with everything I see. I can choose what I open up to and what I don't.
It's such a good point because it feels like almost everything on social media these days is designed to trigger a reaction.
Absolutely. It's all about engagement.
Yeah.
And the algorithms are designed to keep you scrolling, to keep you reacting, to keep you clicking.
Totally.
Yeah.
So being able to step back from that and say, you know what, I don't have to click, I don't have to read.
It's a form of self-preservation almost.
Totally. All right. So outward non-reaction is step 1.
That's step 1.
Choose your battles consciously.
Yes.
Okay. So then we move into step 2, which is inward non-reaction.
Inward non-reaction.
And this is the one that really got me thinking. Because Rathbun talks about how all that external negativity, all that stuff that we're reacting to out in the world can turn into these like negative compartments inside of us.
Yes, exactly. It's like we internalize all that negativity and it becomes part of our inner landscape.
Yeah. And he says we tend to loop through these compartments.
Oh, the looping.
Right. Replaying negative thoughts and experiences in our minds.
Yeah. It's like we're constantly reliving those moments, feeding them energy, giving them power.
And I think we've all had that experience where like, you lie in bed at night and you just keep replaying that awkward conversation you had.
Or that mistake you made or that thing you wish you'd said differently.
Totally. And it just keeps looping and looping.
And the more you loop through it, the worse you feel.
Absolutely. So Rathbun's suggestion is that if we can stop that internal replay, if we can just notice those loops and choose not to engage with them,
right,
then those compartments can actually lose their energy and start to dissolve.
It's like you're cutting off the fuel supply.
Yeah.
To those negative thought patterns. And this ties back to your desire for knowledge without overwhelm.
Yeah.
Because when we're constantly looping through those negative compartments, it creates so much mental clutter. It's exhausting.
Totally. It's like we're carrying around all this baggage.
And it weighs us down. It prevents us from being present. It prevents us from being focused.
Absolutely. All right, so we've got outward non-reaction. We've got inward non-reaction.
Step 1 and step 2.
And then the third step is what he calls the art of detachment.
The art of detachment. This one sounds a little bit like, are we just going to check out of life?
Yeah, it sounds a little aloof.
Right. Doesn't mean we don't care.
Yeah, exactly.
But that's not what Rathbun is saying at all.
Okay.
Detachment isn't about apathy. It's about finding space between what happens and how you respond.
Okay, I like that.
It's like hitting the pause button before you react.
So instead of just immediately reacting to something, you kind of take a breath?
You observe the urge to react. You notice the thoughts and the feelings that are coming up, but you don't immediately give in to them.
So you're not suppressing the emotions, you're just observing them.
Exactly. You're acknowledging them, but you're not letting them control you.
And Rathbun says that detachment helps us move towards what he calls a one-pointed mind.
The one-pointed mind, yes.
Which frees us from the two-pointed ego and intellect reaction.
The two-pointed ego and intellect That's where we get caught in those loops.
Yeah.
It's the back and forth between our desires and our judgments, our wants and our shoulds.
Totally.
And that creates so much inner turmoil.
Absolutely. So much of that, like, should I, shouldn't I? What will people think?
It's exhausting.
Yeah.
So detachment helps us step back from that inner tug of war.
And I think this quote from Rathbun really illustrates the power of detachment. He says, oh my God, now I don't have to deal with about what I didn't say in the heat of a moment.
That's powerful.
Right. Like, it's that realization that by not reacting, you save yourself so much mental and emotional aftermath.
It's like you're preventing future suffering, choosing not to engage in that initial reaction.
So it's not just about the moment itself, it's about the ripple effects.
Exactly. It's about breaking free from those cycles of reaction and regret.
And what's so cool is how Rathbun connects outward non-reaction to those inward negative compartments. He says that every time you choose not to react externally, you're also weakening those internal pockets of negativity.
It's like you're starving them of energy.
So by practicing outward and inward non-reaction,
Right.
we're actually disrupting the energy that sustains that negativity.
We're shifting our fundamental state of being.
Yeah. And awareness is key to breaking that cycle.
Absolutely. Awareness is the foundation of it all.
Yeah. Okay, so now I think it's important to clarify something.
Yeah.
Because detachment can sound a little passive. Like, oh, I'm just going to detach from everything and not care about anything.
Yeah. Are we just going to become hermits?
Exactly. Rathbun makes it clear that's not what he's talking about at all.
No, detachment doesn't mean you become a pushover or that you stay silent in the face of injustice.
Right.
It's about acting from a place of clarity, not from a place of knee-jerk emotional reaction.
He says that being unaffected allows for a clearer perception of what can be done to bring disharmony into harmony with your voice.
That's beautiful.
Right? It's about being able to see the situation clearly and then responding in a way that's aligned with your values.
Yes.
And he also mentions Kelee Meditation as a tool for developing this one-pointed mind and detachment.
Kelee Meditation. That's a practice that can help us train our minds
Yeah.
to become less reactive, to cultivate that space between stimulus and response.
It's like a mental workout for our awareness.
Exactly.
And he also touches on this concept of the earthly trinity,
The earthly trinity.
which consists of the ego, the intellect, and the mind. It's a whole other deep dive that we could do at some point.
Definitely.
But for now, just know that it's another framework for understanding those inner dynamics.
Yeah.
So to recap, the 3 steps to self-control, according to Ron W Rathbun, are outward non-reaction, inward non-reaction, and the art of detachment.
Exactly.
Yeah.
It's a journey of understanding and navigating our reactions.
And I love how he emphasizes that true self-control isn't about forcing ourselves. It's about this deep understanding of our own responses.
It's about self-awareness. It's about choice.
Yeah.
It's about recognizing that we have more control than we often realize.
So to leave you with something to ponder, think about a recent situation where you reacted maybe externally, maybe just in your own head, and ask yourself, how might applying that first step of outward non-reaction have changed how things played out?
That's a powerful question.
It is, and it's something that we can all continue to explore.
Absolutely. The journey to self-mastery is ongoing.
Thanks for joining me on this deep dive into self-control.
It's been a pleasure exploring this with you.
And we'll see you next time.